Item from the Hill. Our friends, the Saudis, are in the news. Let's see what the Hill is reporting today. There we go. The Senate, on Tuesday, that's today, approved legislation that would allow victims of the 9/11 terror attacks to sue Saudi Arabia, defying vocal opposition from the White House. Here's why this is important. Two reasons. Number one, the families of the victims of 9/11 should have their day in court. Absolutely, they should sue the crap out of Saudi Arabia. That's reason number one. Reason number two is that suing Saudi Arabia is a segue to finding the real culprits of 9/11. I just happen to have up on my computer screen a book that I found on, I didn't find it, I've seen it before, it's on Amazon.com. It's called House of Bush, House of Saud, The Secret Relationship Between the World's Two Most Powerful Dynasties. Suing the Saudis, you know how the Saudi Arabians are. As soon as you squeeze them a little, they start to screech. Well, they're going to be squeezing the Saudi Arabians, and what do you think they're going to have to say when they begin to screech? Where do you think they're going to be pointing their fingers? They're going to say, we're not the bad guys. We didn't do 9/11. We were just working with our good friends, the Bushes. We were working with the Bush family. George H.W. Bush, George Bush, Dick Cheney, all those guys, Jim Baker. We were just helping them. They're the culprits. At that point, my friends, that's where so much of America will call this show. That's where millions of Americans will call 877-254-7524 and say, Mr. Riell, we apologize. You were right. And we were wrong. You saw the connections that we didn't see. You listened to 9/11 architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth who said the collapse of the World Trade Center buildings defied the laws of physics. You said it was a conspiracy. Everybody laughed. But you know what, Mr. Riell? You and those other people, those other wackos and wingnuts, you were right. And we were wrong. It's Riell Truth, my friends. It's Tuesday. We'll be right back. Look, I was talking to someone on the phone, inviting him to come on the show, and the music went on. That's why I was a little bit late. Cut me some slack. I'm trying my best. It's going to be a good show today, but so continue to listen. You can fast forward till the radio comes back on. In the meantime, just enjoy looking at me. All right, well, look somewhere else, but then stick around and listen to the rest of the show.
We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey package, custom design system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to gripplanesolar.com. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution, the United States of America.
All right, then. Oh, I'm just getting started. Just getting started, my friends. It's Tuesday. And it's Riell Truth. And I am Howard Riell. Now, here is, what's her name? Omarosa Manigault. She was on Donald Trump's show. She was a contestant. She works for Donald Trump in real life. Here she is talking about that New York Times hit piece, the hatchet piece, where the supposed gray lady of journalism, one of the great newspapers ever, the New York Times, is revealed to be birdcage liner. Because they're in league with Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party, trying everything they can think of to take Trump out of the race. Here's why they're schmucks. Because the more the Empire Strikes Back, the more Luke Skywalker is going to win. You get the pop culture reference, right? All right, let's listen.
But right now, the New York Times taking heat for an article about Donald Trump's past. In the article, the Times claims to report how Donald Trump treats women in private. But one ex-girlfriend says the newspaper took her words and twisted them.
What was your reaction when you read this article yesterday?
Actually, it was very upsetting.
Why?
I was not happy to read it at all. Well, because the New York Times told us several times that they would make sure that my story that I was telling came across. They promised several times that they would do it accurately. They told me several times, and my manager several times, that it would not be a hit piece, and that my story would come across the way that I was telling it, and honestly. And it absolutely was not.
What did they get wrong?
Well, they did take quotes from what I said, and they put a negative connotation on it. They spun it to where it appeared negative. I did not have a negative experience with Donald Trump, and I don't appreciate them making it look like that I was saying that it was a negative experience, because
You
it
knew
was
him
not.
very well, right? You dated him for several months?
That's correct. Yes. And he never made me feel like I was being demeaned in any way. He never offended me in any way. He was very gracious. I saw him around all types of people, all types of women. He was very kind, thoughtful, generous. He was a gentleman.
And Donald Trump tweeting today, with the coming forward today of the woman central to the failing New York Times hit piece on me, we have exposed the article as a fraud. And now businesswoman and former apprentice contestant Omarosa, who is now working with the Trump campaign. She's here to go on the record. Nice to see you.
Hi, Greta. Good to see you as well.
Nice. Well, I think the bombshell will be if it turns out that the interview with the New York Times of this woman was taped enough, and we haven't heard that yet, because that may at least sort of let us know who's on first as to who's telling the truth on it. But you say it's a hit piece. Why?
Absolutely. It's a hit piece because you look at what this woman has said, that she said that he was nothing but a gentleman, that he was very charming, that he was kind, but those were all elements of this interview that they left out because they wanted to characterize Donald Trump in a very negative way. This piece was probably already written before they even interviewed this woman, and they dropped names in it, but it really does come down to politics and this idea or trying to paint a picture that Donald Trump has a problem with women.
What I must confess that the part in the article where it says that his father once told Donald Trump's girlfriend not to order the fish but to order the steak, I must have read that paragraph 3 times. I still don't figure out why they're sticking it on Donald and what's wrong with the father saying she should have steak instead of fish.
And I also thought it was very odd that they pointed out that Donald Trump actually hired a woman in the 80s to be a construction manager. I mean, a trailblazer in hiring a woman in an industry that generally does not hire women to lead. And pointing out that his father may not have liked that, but without seeing the irony that Donald was in fact appointing a woman to a very important position at a time when people generally wouldn't do that. And I think that shows that he holds women in a very high regard in his business interactions as well as in his personal interactions.
Does it mean anything to you that that article was above the fold on the front page and took 2 reporters 6 weeks?
It took you almost 600, 700 words to really even get into the story to see where is it that they're saying that Donald crossed the line. It just seemed like to me a tabloid piece. And it was very interesting that with all of these people that they interviewed, that there were these random people who I think in the past wanted to tell these stories, but why didn't they? Why didn't they share these stories before? Donald's been running for almost a year now, not to undermine anything that they've said, but just to say to you that I have never, ever witnessed Donald Trump act inappropriately towards women, and I've worked with him for almost 13 years.
You have to admit, though, that his language is rather rough and rude and boorish sometimes towards women. Won't you admit that one?
Stop. Greta, I love you. But I got to take issue with you, and I do so respectfully. Because Greta Van Susteren is one of the best journalists on Fox, one of the most even and objective journalists. That said, through no fault of her own, she's a woman. Why do I say that? I'm listening to this whole hubbub in the press. Women don't like Donald Trump because of the words he uses and the tone of his voice and his overall demeanor. And I gotta tell you, and you're free to call me if you want. You want to disagree with me? You're free to. I want to tell you, I want to tell women in America to grow up. We're hiring someone for the most important position in America, Chief Executive Officer of America. That's what the president is. He's got to have a skill set. He's got to have the guts and the courage and the cojones to get done what needs to be done. He's got to have a long list of accomplishments and strongly held beliefs. Donald Trump has all that. But women don't like his tone. Well, I'm guessing children also would not like his tone. Do women really want to be placed on the same level as children? I don't think so. Women of America, Donald Trump can fix a lot of the problems, deadly, desperate problems facing this country. So yeah, grow up a little bit. You don't like his tone? Who cares? He can do the job and he can do it better than anybody else. So gird up thy loins, as we used to say, and suck it up and accept the fact that he may not be your dream date, and you may not want to marry him, although I suspect a lot of you would. But if he can get the job done, that's what counts. When your car is smoking out from under the hood and you pull into a repair station, do you care about the way the mechanic comports himself or the words he uses, or if he's got a pin-up calendar on the wall? Or do you care if he can fix your car? Stop worrying about the language. Stop worrying about the demeanor. Focus on the qualifications. Focus on the fact that Donald Trump is not owned by the political machine. These are important features. These are why you vote for Donald Trump. If you don't like his language, do what's good for America. Do what's good for yourself. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more Real Truth. And truth is what it is.
We all know that our government is out of control.
Truth really is what it is, my friends. Go to my Facebook page, Riell Truth Radio, and list some comments there. Women are saying they're not going to vote for Trump because of the language he uses, but I would say there are more important issues in America, more vital threats facing America than Donald Trump's use of language. Do you agree or disagree? Write me a message on my Facebook page, Riell Truth Radio. If it's well written, maybe I'll put it on the air. All right, back to the radio.
With the consumption of alcohol or use of drugs, please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981. Do not but the mayor because many false prophets have gone into the void. But the fulfillment of the Spirit of God, every spirit that confesses that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is not of God, and this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have already heard is coming, and is now already in the world. 1 John 4:1. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the person or thing to be seized.
Okay, we're back. Howard Riell, realtruth.com. Donald Trump kicks ass, and not surprisingly, so does his national spokesperson, Katrina Pearson. Here she is about to lay a smackdown on some news tootsie on CBS. Let's listen in.
Break down Donald Trump's future strategy is Katrina Pearson, a national spokesperson for the campaign. Katrina, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here.
So listen, you heard what the speaker had to say, and Trump has received in some cases tepid support. Paul Ryan is saying, I can't do it right now. And the other thing he said is that it's up to Donald.
My friends, Trump, according to the CBS News Tootsie, has received tepid support. Well, I guess that means thundering his way to more votes than any GOP candidate in history, winning primary after primary, state after state, county after county, destroying 16 other opponents en route to capturing the presumptive nomination. Yeah, tepid. It's got tepid response. People are tepid.
Donald Trump to reach out to make the moves to unify the party. So is there a strategy? What's the strategy? Well, the strategy is very simple. Mr. Trump is going to stick to his message of making America great again. And it is in contrast with how Republicans have been governing. The split in this party, the divide, or whatever you want to call it, this is nothing new. All the people that you mentioned, whether it's the Bushes or Mitt Romney, John McCain, those are part of the reasons why the party is so split, which is exactly why you've seen 75% of Republican voters reject establishment candidates.
The question I think, Katrina, that a lot of people have is, how is he going to unify the party? How is he going to bring about this? He seems to have the voters on his sides clearly. When you've said this several times to us that Mr. Trump has garnered more popular votes than the last two Republican nominees. But if you don't have the party, this is a very different fight in the general election than it is for a primary battle.
Sure. Well, of course. Again, we're applying conventional wisdom in politics to the Trump campaign. The party will come along. We've heard Reince Priebus. There are a lot of people that are coming out to support Mr. Trump, and we do have a handful of people that are resistant. But the reality is, we may not have every single Republican on board because Mr. Trump doesn't support amnesty. He doesn't support spending trillions of dollars on special interests, and that's a lot of the pushback we're receiving.
So you're saying that
My friends, get the weight of this. Here's the Republican Party establishment. They have been pathetic for all of Obama's presidency. They haven't stood up to him. They've funded every piece of garbage legislation he's put forward. They've been completely deaf, dumb, blind, and impotent. And they're saying to Donald Trump, hey, how come you're not more like us? Americans hate the Republican Party. Republicans are disgusted and ashamed of the Republican Party. And they want Trump to be more like them. You think there's a little bit of disconnect between the heavyweights in the Republican Party and the planet Earth? I think so too.
If he doesn't garner the support of some of those establishment Republicans, that he will go his own way. I mean, he seemed to indicate that in his statement yesterday. But can a fractured Republican Party defeat the Democratic nominee?
Well, I don't think the party...
Stop! My friends, wherever you are listening to this show, you may be in your car, you may be in your kitchen, you may be in a Kiwanis. I don't care where you are, I don't care who you are, you could defeat Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is such a liar, such a criminal, such a piece of trash, so disliked, so disrespected, so bereft of any accomplishment, that the chances are excellent that whoever you are listening to Riell Truth right now, you could run against Hillary Clinton and beat her, because she is a total train wreck. But let's listen to Katrina say it, because she's a lot cuter when she says it.
Is going to be fractured. Again, the party will come in behind Mr. Trump at the end of the day. This will be Republicans versus Democrats going into November. We just may not have everyone in the party support. But I will say this, what we're seeing happening, whether it's the Bushes and the McCains and even the speaker to some degree, really goes to show that those disenfranchised Democrats and even some of the independents, that Donald Trump isn't a part of the establishment, and they're watching this unfold. You mentioned Reince Priebus. Earlier today, he did an interview. He was asked about Donald Trump's tone. He was also asked about the tweet that Donald Trump sent out for Cinco de Mayo.
He was asked about Donald Trump's tone. Question, you ever hear of General George Patton? You did, right? One of the great generals in the history of the United States military, right? How was his tone? His tone sucked. No one liked George Patton. They didn't like his tone, they didn't like his phraseology, didn't like his demeanor, etc., etc., and he won smashing victory after smashing victory. So maybe, possibly, tone isn't the most important thing. Are you listening, women of America?
Which, some people thought maybe wasn't the best thing to do. Let's listen to what Reince Priebus had to say, and then I want to get your reaction.
I think that there's work on tone.
You know what? Let's not listen to Rience Priebus. I've heard just about enough of Rience Priebus, if you don't mind. Get off the tone thing. By the way, since we're chatting, you ever get a load of Hillary Clinton's tone? She shrieks like a vulture. She has all the emotional warmth of a germ. Her tone is always shrill. That's why I call her Shrillery. It's like a play on her name. Her tone is lousy. Her tone is terrible. She led the pack of attack dogs that went after the women who were molested by her husband. And if you listen to people who've worked with her, Secret Service agents on her detail, others who worked with her, she's got the tone of a barroom brawler. She's got the tone of a sailor on leave in Shanghai. She's an animal. Where are the 20 reporters from the Washington Post covering her? Where's the New York Times above-the-fold hit piece on her and the Clinton Foundation? Yeah, exactly. So if the Clintons, animals as they are, and the Democratic Party, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who is surely a piece of trash, and the big media, and the corporations, if they're all against Donald Trump, this is the power machine that's killing America, and they hate Donald Trump, employ a little bit of logic. Obviously, Donald Trump threatens to stop them from destroying America. That's what we want, right? Item from departed.co. When asked during her weekly press conference about whether then New York Senator Hillary Clinton's vote for the Iraq War should be disqualifying, Democratic House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said what was actually important was to elect a woman president. Question. Former Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee said earlier this week, any Democrat who voted for the Iraq War should be disqualified as being your party's nominee. You called the Iraq War, among other things, a grotesque mistake. He was obviously implying Hillary Clinton should not be the nominee. If you don't agree with Lincoln Chafee, why not? Pelosi says, quote, if we are relitigating the Iraq War, let me say in the House of Representatives, we saw things differently in the majority of the House of Democrats voting against the Iraq War. I was top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee at the time. As such, I was required to receive all the intelligence, all the information the White House had going into Iraq. And I said at the time, the intelligence does not support the threat. I had better access than most people. I couldn't really say what I saw. Hillary Clinton, unquote. So it doesn't matter whether or not Hillary Clinton was egregiously, monumentally wrong on the war in Iraq. What matters is that Hillary Clinton has a vagina. I'm not exactly sure how Nancy Pelosi knows that. Item from DCWhispers.com. 4 years earlier, he was the GOP nominee running against Barack Obama, who gladly took an endorsement from Donald Trump. Now Mitt Romney is seeking to sabotage millions of Trump supporters and secure a 2016 presidential win for the Democrats. Romney is said to have promised millions to help fund the effort. Unquote. Mitt Romney is a traitor, not just to the Republican Party. He's a traitor to America because he knows full well a Hillary Clinton presidency would be rat poison in the bloodstream of America. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's a multimillionaire. So screw you. Mitt Romney wants what's good for him and his good old boy network in the country club. They've got theirs. You mean you want yours too? Piss on you, says Mitt Romney. He wants to do what he wants to do. Well, if he had shown a little bit of this testosterone when he ran for Barack Obama, we might not have had the last 4 years of tragedy. Item. From the LA Times, Bernie Sanders is on a roll. He's won the last 2 Democratic primaries and stands a good chance Tuesday, that's today, of adding Oregon and perhaps Kentucky to his pile of victories. Yet Hillary Clinton is likely to continue her seemingly unstoppable march to the party's presidential nomination. How can that be? It's not a conspiracy, as some angry Sanders backers suggest, a result of dark magic or a wrinkle in the time-space continuum. Rather, it's the rules that Democrats play by. Rules that now work to Clinton's advantage, even as they thwarted her candidacy 8 years ago when she lost the nominating fight to then-Senator Barack Obama. Stop! Whether it's Clinton or Obama, the Democratic machine decides who will be the nominee and not the Democratic voters, which I suppose makes Democratic voters kind of stupid for staying in a party that doesn't value their opinion at all. Democratic voters are tolerated by the Democratic Party, never respected, never listened to. So Democrats, knowing this, you're coming up to a presidential election in 6 months. You could vote for the party that treats you like a moron, or you could do what millions of Democratic voters have already said they will do, and make a much smarter choice and vote for Donald Trump. Item from the Washington Post. The top ranks of the Republican Party may be coalescing around Donald Trump, but grassroots conservative activists are still trying to find a way to stop him at the party's convention in July. Angered by Trump's shifting views on taxes, minimum wage, national security, and how little he discusses social issues, conservatives across the country are studying the party rulebook for last-ditch moves that they could make when the convention begins in Cleveland. Unquote. My friends, have you ever heard the phrase, beating a dead horse? Now, in the case of Mitt Romney and John McCain and Bill Kristol and George Will, it's horses' asses beating a dead horse. Item from the Washington Times. Senator Tom Cotton accepted the challenge when President Obama's speechwriter and high-ranking foreign policy advisor Ben Rhodes ducked out of a hearing on Tuesday where he was to explain whether he misled the country in pushing the Iran nuclear deal. Members of Congress had been eager to prod Mr. Rhodes over misrepresentations, but the White House had seemed skeptical, saying lawmakers should poke one of their own. Mr. Cotton, an Arkansas Republican Mr. Obama's aides say has been misleading. Mr. Cotton jumped at the chance. Then the White House backed out, refusing to let Mr. Rhodes testify, citing executive privilege. Unquote. Citing criminal negligence, an outright defiance of the law. Good job, Obama voters. Item from Breitbart. 1 of every 5 refugees resettled in Minnesota by the federal government tested positive for latent tuberculosis in 2014, according to the state's Department of Health. Only 4% of the general population in the U.S. tested positive for latent tuberculosis in the most recent report provided by the Centers for Disease Control. Stop! So by shipping in refugees from the third world, Barack Obama is bringing grievous diseases here, including tuberculosis. One might almost get the feeling that Obama is intentionally trying to damage Americans in America. But he wouldn't do something like that, would he? Item from DonaldTrumpNews.co. The last man to hold the title of Republican presidential nominee is still warning his party about Donald Trump. Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney told David Gregory Show podcast that a 3-man race could send Trump to the winner's circle on the first ballot of the GOP convention this summer, which Romney does not want. Unquote. My friends, talked about and decided. Mitt Romney is a zero. He's a weenie. He's a limp noodle. And the sooner I stop hearing the name Mitt Romney, the sooner I'll like it. Item from truthandaction.org. After a 6-month legal battle between a pair of cafe owners and their Muslim neighbor, Graham Webb Lee has been settled in the couple's favor. The complaint? The cafe produces a bacon smell that is offensive to Mr. Webb Lee, who is the Muslim. Unquote. Mr. Webb Lee, leave the country if you don't like the smell of bacon. Even if you do.
We all know that our government is out of control. What are the points of people in it? How can we, the people, Defying.com is the place to go to learn how you can actually make that happen. Become their judges, not their slaves. AccountabilityRevolution.com. Ability to mind everyone. And otherwise, dramatically, the consumption of alcohol or drugs. Please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981. Great Plains Mountain has been providing in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant over your property. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power condition. Our expertise focuses dependable power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive system systems. Custom tailored capabilities on emergency lighting all the way to commercial scale power. Great Plains Power is a full service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom design systems, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GripPlainsSolar.com. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10. And we behold his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15.
All right, guys, welcome back to Riell Truth. The CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, says you're a schmuck. If you're a conservative, he thinks you're a fool. What you believe doesn't count. What you want to say, what you want to read about doesn't matter because you're wrong. You're an idiot. That's Mark Zuckerberg, the head of Facebook. Well, here to take issue with that is your favorite national spokesperson and mine, Katrina Pearson. I'm rapidly becoming a major fan of hers. Here she is talking to, who is she talking to? Someone on CNBC. Some news tootsie, another blonde chick that they put in front of a camera who doesn't know the difference between Abraham and apricot. And she's about to match wits with the razor-sharp Katrina Pearson. It's not going to be pretty. Let's listen.
That not-so-subtle jab from Mark Zuckerberg at Donald Trump. Well, you know, self-righteousness isn't very proactive. We can talk about taxes, we can talk about jobs and even immigration, but that doesn't really put food on the table and save lives. You know, I think I'll take Mark Zuckerberg seriously when he gives up all of his private security, move out of his posh neighborhood, and come live in a modest neighborhood near a border town, and then I'm sure his attitude would change. Whoa, I mean, that's pretty personal there. Does Trump have a problem with Silicon Valley? I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, he's slammed Apple before, even called for a boycott. What's the issue? Well, the issue is simple. Mr. Trump has policies that actually helps the American worker, the American taxpayer, and wants to protect American lives. And a lot of these people are only looking at their bottom line when it comes to jobs, for example, with the visas. And even with this wall comment that Mark Zuckerberg made, there are millions of Americans, and by far the overwhelming majority of Americans, who don't have the opportunity to live in safe communities and have private security protecting them. These measures that Mr. Trump puts forward are about securing the life, liberty, and property of American citizens and the American worker. But aren't these companies about securing American innovation? Trump talks about making America great again and America first. I mean, these are part of our competitive advantage. How can you do that without some of these companies in Silicon Valley not just creating jobs, but creating these innovations and creating enviable products for around the world? Oh, absolutely. But I think there should be a line drawn. The CEOs in Silicon Valley should focus on innovation and jobs and their businesses, and let the politicians make the policies. It's great that we can have innovation in this country, but you should be able to do that without putting the lives of Americans at risk.
You're criticizing Zuckerberg, suggesting that he should live, I think you use the expression that he should leave his posh neighborhood and go and live amongst working class people. You accused him of self-righteousness, and I think you accused him also of having his own private security that other people don't. Aren't those accusations that can also be labeled against Donald Trump?
Yeah, but Donald Trump isn't the one that's saying we shouldn't build a wall and we shouldn't protect everyone else. That's the hypocrisy that I'm talking about here. Most Americans don't live in a $10 million home and they don't have access to private security. So yes, we do need to take measures in this country to protect the American citizen, and those are Donald Trump's policies. Mark Zuckerberg talked about hope over fear. That doesn't save lives. We have to do something. Look at Kate Steinle in San Francisco. She was shot while walking on the pier with her father, for crying out loud. We should be more concerned about her than leaving the border open for more criminals to come across.
So just to be clear,
My friends, I can't vouch for the fact that Katrina Pearson's IQ is 70 to 80 points higher than this jerk on CNBC, but certainly it appears that way. He doesn't get it. He doesn't come close to getting it, while Katrina is a master of it. She's got this putz in the palm of her hands, because his job was to go out and make Trump look bad, and her job is to go out and tell the truth, and the truth will always trump those who want to get Trump. I guess it's kind of a play on words, right? I'm so clever. Item from the Times of London. Female directors make sex on screen more interesting, Susan Sarandon has claimed, as she sets her sights on making the pornography industry more acceptable to women. Stop! Susan Sarandon is a well-known liberal, an uber liberal. So the fact that she has taken her mind off politics and put it in pornography makes me, as an American, feel much safer. Item from departed.co. A 6-year-old transgender girl. Stop! You heard me right, my friends. Nothing wrong with your radio. No static. No interference from the stratosphere. You heard me right. I'll read it again. A 6-year-old transgender girl has won the right to use the girls' restroom at her school in Colorado. The decision was made by the Colorado Civil Rights Division on Sunday that the Fountain Fort Carson School District created an unnecessarily hostile situation for Coy Mathis by not allowing her to use the female bathroom. Transgender advocates are hailing the decision as a major step forward for transgender rights. My friends, if you're beginning to weep, I don't blame you. I'll wait a minute while you compose yourself. Get a tissue or something. Collect your thoughts. It's a fact of human psychology that at the age of 6, children have not yet developed anything resembling a sexual identity. So now you're going to have to explain to me how a 6-year-old has not only decided on a sexuality, but the wrong sexuality. What's with the parents here? That's what I want to know. 6 years is not long enough for a kid to become monumentally screwed up. So if the parents, presumably in Colorado, are listening to my voice, give me a call. I'd love to find out how in 6 short years you took your little boy and turned him into a little girl. Compound that with the seemingly unending stupidity of school districts in Colorado and the other 49 states. Great victory. 6-year-old boy thinks he's a 6-year-old girl, and now he can use the bathroom of his choice. I mean, hit. Oh, forget about it, my friends. It is a tragedy. Item. From truthandaction.org, Muslim Police Chief Inspector Umar Khan made the statement on social media this weekend and was immediately questioned by alarmed free speech campaigners. He then apologized to those defending the right to be offensive for any offense caused, unquote. The statement regarding free speech was a thought after a moving visit to Auschwitz, he added. When asked if Mr. Khan and the police department generally support the right to offend religious beliefs, the Greater Manchester Police press officer told Breitbart London, "I don't think we support anyone who would want to say anything offensive." Stop! So, the latest advancement, the latest genius to come from the Muslim world is that if you're going to say something offensive, then you don't have freedom of speech. Let me have a shout out to my friends, the Muslims around the world. Schmucks, you need freedom of speech exactly when what you're saying is offensive. If what you're saying isn't offensive, it doesn't need protection, right? So the more the Muslim population grows in America, the more resistance we will have to freedom of speech. No wonder then that it's the Democrats bringing them in by the millions. We'll take a break. Riell Truth will continue. Guys, it's that time again. All done. Please share this video with everybody you know on the internet. And then go to YouTube and listen to Katrina Pearson. She's really, really smart. That's why I like her. I'll see you tomorrow.